From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Your weekend weather update is made possible by Caltrans District 2. Happy holidays from Weather NorCal and our sponsors. Have a wonderful holiday season.
Well, good Saturday morning to you. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger in for Chase Wilson this morning. He'll be back at noon and this afternoon. I'm just filling in for him this morning. He's feeling a little under the weather. Well, happy winter solstice. Now, it already occurred. We have already transitioned from fall to winter. So what is the winter solstice? Well, first and foremost, you need to understand that the Earth is tilted on its axis at 23.5 degrees. Now, that's important to take note because as the Earth revolves around the sun, we get all of our different seasons thanks to that tilt of that Earth at 23.5 degrees. So it's typically around December 21st, 22nd that we typically see the winter solstice. And it's farthest away, at least the northern hemisphere is farthest away from the sun. This is typically when we have the shortest day of the year, at least here in the northern hemisphere. If you are in Australia or in the southern hemisphere in general, it would actually be the opposite. It would be the first day of summer, and it would be the longest day of the year. So the good news is this is the shortest day of the year, and even better news is the fact, well, that's not such great news, but the better news is after that, the daylight hours will start getting longer and longer as we get into, well, through the winter season, and of course, getting closer to spring. All right, let's take a look at your weather headlines here before we get to your Krueger's Quickcast. Now, the wet pattern has arrived. That's going to be here today. Snow levels mainly above 6,000 feet, and it looks like we're going to be looking at gusty winds at times, including today. And then really looking at the long range, we've got off and on rain through all of next week, and most likely going into next weekend as well. All right, here is a look at Krueger's Quickcast for your Saturday, December 21st. We head out the door this morning, and yes, it's going to be wet for pretty much everyone. And there may even be some thunderstorms for parts of the north coast here, especially this morning, but even possibly in the afternoon. And by the way, don't want to completely rule out maybe even a stray thunderstorm for parts of the valley as well, but I think the better chances will be off to the west. So there's storm system number one in a series of several storms heading our way. Storm number one, number two, number three coming in behind that, and this is a pattern that will continue into next week. Now we look at that severe weather outlook, basically just saying the chances for thunderstorms here are mainly for the areas in green. I think that's a pretty good representation there that we're looking at here. And again, maybe a slight chance coming into the valley here this morning. So you can see as we kind of push through the morning hours, first main push of moisture, another little one coming in behind that. You'll see all this snow. The darker blue is indicating the heavier snow, but again, you're going to have to go above 6,000 feet. So the higher mountain passes may see some chain requirements, but on I-5 near Mount Shasta, I think it'll just be those wet roadways here through the morning hours and even to the afternoon. It looks like snow levels are trying to drop a little bit here this morning, but mainly above 5,000 feet. And look at this. As we get closer to the noon hour, it's actually starting to kind of phase out. Yeah, we're still seeing some of the showers off to the east, but as we go through the afternoon, we're actually just going to be looking at mostly cloudy skies, dry conditions, and with the saturated atmosphere, it actually may be a bit drizzly out there in some areas as well through the afternoon. But overall, we'll be between storm system 1 and 2 as we go into tonight and into early tomorrow morning. You see, for the most part, we're looking at fairly dry conditions, just those overcast skies. Now, again, we do have a few showers trying to develop here, but it's not until Sunday afternoon that we'll see round 2 move on in. Now, with these passing storm systems, we've also got gusty winds in the forecast. You can see here, as the storm passes to the east here, those winds start to die down. But the strongest winds I do expect will be in the mountains and along the coast, maybe not as bad here for the valley. And then, of course, as we go into Sunday morning with the approaching storm system, winds picking up for the coast first and then eventually making their way eastward into the mountains. All right, so here's what we have in store for us today. Temperatures low to maybe even some mid-50s for the valley. We're talking mainly 40s for many of the higher elevations, and there's that chance for thunderstorms here out along the coast and maybe even some of the inland areas. So a quick look at your 7-day outlook. Wet every single day. However, the long-range forecast models have been very consistent in keeping Christmas Day dry for everyone. The valley, the mountains, the coast. There's a chance for thunderstorms, and again, maybe even a chance for a thunderstorm on Sunday as well. Otherwise, dry conditions for your Christmas day. Snow levels fairly high, although they may lower on Tuesday down to about 4,000 feet, and maybe even as low as 3,500 feet on Thursday before going back up to 6,000 feet or higher by the end of next week. All right, that is Krueger's Quickcast. Before we get into your deeper dive, I do want to remind you there is a free Weather NorCal app. Just go to your app store, search for Weather NorCal, and you've got the free Weather NorCal app. Hyperlocal, and I think you're going to like it. All right, take a look at the satellite image here. We saw that a little bit earlier. So, storm number 1. Now, typically along these fronts is where we're going to see the strongest winds. So, that'll be coming through this morning, and then by the afternoon, the winds will start to die down. And then, of course, we've got storm system number 2 right here. There's the cold front here, and then behind that is a storm that'll be coming into Monday and Tuesday of next week. And I just want to show you this. The moisture content, as you can see here, you see how just kind of one band of moisture aiming at us pretty much every day, and we get breaks in between. But where we see the yellows, oranges, and reds, and even those purples indicating really that's where the main source of moisture is. And these storm systems have plenty of moisture to tap into as they all aim at us. Now, as we look at these two, these certainly have characteristics of atmospheric rivers, and they certainly are. But not all atmospheric rivers are the same. They can be anywhere from category 1, which is the weakest, to a category 5, which is the strongest. So you see these spikes right here? Those are the atmospheric rivers that are passing through. And the strongest looks to be Monday into Tuesday, where it could be within and kind of approaching the AR3. Now, typically with atmospheric rivers, the ones that you start getting more headlines on and you start hearing more about on social media are the ones that stick around for a prolonged period of time. We talk about that atmospheric river pointed at Northern California for 1, 2, sometimes even 3 days or longer. It's those events that create the biggest problems. But these are short events. They're not lasting very long. They're typically anywhere from 12 hours to 18 hours at the longest. So they're not going to be here for a prolonged period of time. So we get the atmospheric river, we get the break, another atmospheric river, a break, and another stronger river here. Now what's interesting is the longer that stretch is of that atmospheric river, the better the potential for flood risk. Now you saw the strongest one was going to be Monday into Tuesday. So look what the National Weather Service has done here, kind of including a flash flood risk for the areas in green here. Now, again, even though we don't have these prolonged periods of atmospheric rivers, you're still seeing them. You're seeing some decent rain and good rainfall coming out of each of these storm systems. So eventually, the first couple of storms, you've got to it takes time for the ground to get fully saturated. So by the time we do get into Monday, the ground will most likely be fairly saturated. So any heavy rainfall we get on top of that, it's not going to be able to go anywhere except for rising creeks and streams and, of course, some localized flooding. So that's something we'll have to watch for as we go into your Monday. But again, I also mentioned the potential for thunderstorms today along the coast. That could be the case here going into tomorrow as well. But by the way, don't want to rule out that potential for maybe the valley seeing some activity as well as far as thunderstorms are concerned. Now, again, as I mentioned, going through the morning hours, that's the heaviest rainfall and snow in the mountains. Then you can see here as we go into this evening, tonight, mostly dry, minus a passing sprinkle, maybe some drizzle here and there through Sunday morning. Then as we go into Sunday afternoon, look at this. Again, really the first half of the day on Sunday, minus again a passing sprinkle or light shower, it's fairly dry. But then round number 2 moves in Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening. There you can see the rain kicking on in. Now you can see it's not that widespread rain, so just kind of showers throughout the afternoon and into the evening. But look at this. By the time we get into Sunday night into early Monday morning, we're getting another little break from the wet weather. Still the overcast sky, still a little drizzly out there, snow level still fairly high. Then by Monday, Monday's system looks to be mainly aimed toward north and west. So yes, we are going to see some of the showers, and I think to the north and west of the valley is where we'll see most of the rain on Monday, but we're not going to see a ton of rain on Monday. Monday is going to be one of those weaker systems kind of passing on through here, but again, it's still going to bring us that potential for some of the flooding I was talking about a little bit earlier. So how much rain we expect through Monday 5 p.m. is anywhere from, say, a half an inch to over an inch in the valley, and really about the same here for the coast, and maybe about a quarter of an inch at most off towards the north and east. Now, talking about those higher snow levels, you see where the highest amount of snow is? Yeah, Mount Shasta, the mountain itself, some of the Trinity Alps, the Marble Mountains. You can see out towards the Warners, not that much snow there. And Lassen Peak, maybe upwards of a foot of snow at the highest elevation. But overall, I don't expect much, if any, accumulation in any of the higher mountain communities, such as Chester or Alturas, and places like Mount Shasta, Bernie, most likely in the form of rain during this time frame through the weekend and even into early next week. So again, we're talking about the available moisture that we have with all of these storms. Here's the timing. And again, the timing of all this is going to change, especially as we do go through next week. But this just kind of gives you an idea. Now again, as we go into Monday, you can see that rain kind of coming in here into Tuesday, heavier rainfall coming in on Tuesday actually. And we've got this trough of low pressure that's associated with that. And I've been talking about this over the last several days. That allows the cooler air to cool down from the north. So this could lower our snow levels from that 6,000 foot elevation that I'm talking about for the weekend to maybe down to 4,000 feet. And unfortunately, that's just in time when some of you might be traveling in the higher elevations. So this is one of those forecasts. If you're traveling in the mountains at all next week, you're definitely going to need to keep a close eye on those road conditions. And remember, all you have to do is go to weathernorcal.com, click on the road conditions section, and I've got everything perfectly laid out for you. You can get a quick glance at what the road conditions look like. All of the, a lot of the cameras are there for you to see very quickly. And of course, a quick link to Quick Map from Caltrans. So again, that's looking at Tuesday, and then Christmas Day, still fairly consistent with that dry pattern here for Christmas Day. By Thursday, the day after Christmas, yes, when many of you are maybe traveling, we've got more rain and snow in the forecast here for your Thursday. Then we go into Friday, we got showers. And this will continue not only for Friday of next week, but going into next weekend. Yeah, we've got more rain in the forecast. But I'm beginning to see signs that after next weekend, we are most likely going to go into a drier pattern. But that's a long ways out. We've got to get through the next 7 to 10 days, right? Take a look at the rainfall outlook through the end of next week. 2.5 to 5 inches of rain is a possibility, where I think most of the rain will be in the north end of the valley. And of course, the coast seeing more than that at 5 to 7 inches. And once all is said and done through Friday, maybe about 1 inch to 1.5 inches out towards the north and east. Wetter than normal conditions is still being predicted by the Climate Prediction Center. No big surprises there. With the warmer than normal temperatures, that's going to keep those snow levels fairly high. And again, you did see that at points of time next week, it may be dropping down as low as 3,500 feet, but honestly, that might be pushing it. Take a look at that ski report, 53 inches out at the summit here as of yesterday out at the Mount Shasta Ski Park. Now, the big question is, for those of you that are going to the ski park this weekend or even into next week, what do these high elevation snow levels mean for the ski park? And as much as I hate to say it, with the base of the ski park at about 5,500 feet or so, that's going to be on the borderline of where we see that rain transitioning over to snow. So I think there will be times when the ski park, especially the lower part of the ski park, could be looking at it in the form of rain only. At times, maybe a bit of a mix, kind of that sleet, kind of the almost feels like ice kind of pelting down on you, and then just all snow. But again, it's low enough. The elevation is just low enough that it might be in the form of rain at times over the weekend and even through parts of next week as well. So just be aware of that. If you are heading out to the ski park, it may be a little wet at times instead of just the snow. But you can see some of the forecast snow totals through Monday. Lower part of the ski park, 8 inches possibly through Monday, maybe about a foot of snow at the highest part of the ski park. So yeah, certainly some snow is anticipated at the ski park. Now, with these passing storm systems, keep in mind too that we're going to be looking at those winds passing, kind of kicking up as well, mainly with the passage of most of the cold fronts. So as we go into noon today, most of the winds will still be in central Siskiyou County into the east. By the way, a little breezy for the valley, but nothing major. And then the winds die down overall later this afternoon and evening. Now, Sunday morning with the approaching storm system, winds picking up along the coast, central Siskiyou County, not that bad elsewhere. We go into the noon hour, still mainly to the north and west, and then those winds may pick up a little bit here to the east, dying out a little bit, but still gusty really through the day on Sunday for the coast. Central Siskiyou County, going to be some issues there, especially if you're driving a high-profile vehicle. A little breezy in the valley, but not too bad. Then by Monday morning, the wind's no longer an issue. But by Wednesday afternoon, when the next storm system pushes through, especially to the north and west, central Siskiyou County, the coast, all seeing those gusty winds again. So off and on winds with the off and on rain as well. So we look at the wave heights for today. They're fairly high this morning. Now they may relax a little bit here as we go into Sunday, but they'll probably kick back in here as we go into Monday. Now, as a result of this, we do have a high surf advisory for this afternoon through Sunday morning. Be looking at breaking waves of 21 to 23 feet. This could create some beach erosion, and it's not a good idea to be on the beach here during this high surf advisory. Now, looking at the marine forecast, yeah, the wind's fairly strong from the south at 15 to 20 knots. Your waves from the south at 10 feet at about 9 seconds, and from the west at 11 feet at 17 seconds. There's a gale warning through 9 o'clock this morning. But that may be extended or at least in the form of a small credit advisory later this afternoon. So there's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures in the mid to upper 40s, even some low 50s. We don't really need to go too much into the timing of the rain and snow because that's essentially what we talked about when we looked at Futurecast. But there you can see out towards 57 in Smith River, 54 degrees for Orleans, Hoopa, and Willow Creek. And we take you out to Siskiyou County, where we've got temperatures for in the 40s and even some 50s. There is that drier conditions here for your Christmas Day, but on either side of that, you've got rain and high elevation snow. Maybe down to 4,500 feet Tuesday, 4,000 feet on Thursday for Modoc County. In the eastern mountains, maybe down to about 4,500 feet on Tuesday, and then again also on Thursday of next week. But today, temperatures are going to be in the mid to even some upper 40s. Your valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by Walgamith Painting. Your temperatures are going to be in the low to maybe some mid 50s in there, off and on showers through Tuesday. Dry for your Christmas Day, and then more wet weather for Thursday and Friday. And taking you up to the north here, 52 degrees for Redding, 52 degrees for Cottonwood, and 51 for the city of Shasta Lake. All right, here's a look at your 7-day outlook for Redding. Off and on showers for the next 7 days. But again, that break at this point looks to be on Christmas Day with basically rain on either side of that. Well, thank you so much for watching. Of course, I am in for Chase Wilson this morning. He'll be back again at noon and once again this evening at 6 o'clock. Until then, have a great day.
Caltrans is doing the best that they can with the amount of people and the amount of equipment they have, and they're out there trying to keep the roads safe and trying to keep everybody running, because if the roads shut down, truck drivers that are paid by the miles aren't making any money. So we want everybody to put chains on for the safety of themselves and the safety of the public. It's not worth it to drive without chains.